The Amp Theory Podcast with Peter Vazquez and Scott Kalnasy.
All right.
What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
Second episode.
Second episode, man.
You know, when we talked about this and we did the first episode, like, I wasn't for sure we were going to get to the second, but here we are. I'm happy.
Hey, one step at a time, man. It's been good. I've listened to the podcast like 2-3 times already.
Only?
Only. Well, but it doesn't count on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
Because I just listened to it on the regular recording. So
you're cheating.
So I'm cheating.
We need those views.
I should have done it.
You should have.
Yeah.
I've on the YouTube, like, I've listened to it like a couple times, and I'm actually amazed at how many views the video's actually gotten.
Yeah, man. I mean,
it's gotten a word.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I want to like really thank the people that took the time to listen to the first episode. No matter how long, I mean, even for just clicking on it, you know, it's great. You know, when I first started even thinking about doing this podcast, like I just the goal is to help people.
Right.
And I hope that as more people listen, they can get some of that help. Help, I guess, you know.
Yeah, because we're all in this together. We're trying to build a community. We're trying to like help people as much as we're trying to help ourselves. So when I saw that as many people had like viewed it, I didn't think that everybody listened to everything all the way through, especially because they don't know us as much as we want them to know us and like walk down this journey with us. It was a good start. Like, I was like really happy, and like seeing it go from like no subscribers to like almost 30 subscribers like in under a week was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I really feel that like maybe somebody somewhere listened and they're like, these guys are legit.
Yeah. I mean, I knew at first, you know, it was going to be a lot of friends and family. But I mean, at the end of the day, nobody that listened to it had to even do what they did. And so very appreciative of the people that listen. And I hope that as we continue to get better at this, because I know, you know, we're still green, and, you know, talking to you with a fucking mic in front of my face is
a little different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is we've been talking for a long time, so it's still fairly natural, but
yeah, this actually almost feels like us having conversations on the phone, except like now it's like FaceTime.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, I mean, so episode 2 of the Amp Theory.
Yes.
You know, and we wanted to break down the Amp Theory a little bit more. If you don't remember, on the first podcast, AMP stands for accountability, mindset, and persistence. And so we wanted to dedicate one episode to each part of the Amp Theory. So today's is going to be on accountability.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the toughest one for me. I know what accountability is, and I know what it takes to like hold yourself accountable, especially like personally. But you know, there's so many like videos and any form of like medium, right? Like video, audio, visual, whatever it is. A lot of what I found about accountability, it kind of falls into like other people holding other people accountable, not really self accountability, which is something that we're trying to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in stoicism, and one of the things that the Stoics always talk about is just worrying about what you can control, you know. And when it comes to accountability, I think right now a lot of the talk is about holding, you know, others accountable. But when it comes to achieving goals, I think the best way that you could go about that is for just taking ownership and just being honest with yourself.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with, I mean, that is accountability, you know?
Yeah.
We wanted to start off talking about accountability by using a couple of definitions. Before the show, we looked some up. And the one that I found on the dictionary.cambridge.org says accountability: the fact of being responsible for what you do and able to give a satisfactory reason for it, or the degree in which this happens.
Pretty much the definition that I found, it says almost the exact same thing, but it goes more into detail about like the responsibility. Like if you're going to hold yourself accountable, then you have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
And self-responsibility, keeping yourself on track, like that keeps you accountable. And those are like the things that, you know, I've struggled with sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why we joked about it that it's kind of ballsy to do accountability as our second episode, because nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
We don't want to hear it.
No.
I went years without holding myself accountable. And, you know, you talking about how uncomfortable it is. And I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It really sucks to have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, probably of like all the podcasts we do, this is probably going to be the toughest one for me, just because knowing what accountability is, looking up a definition, like there it is in writing, like you can read it, you can understand it. But when it actually, you know, when it's like put into play, like how we've talked before, like you want to be fit, you want to be smart, you want to do this, you want to do that, right? But there's always going to be something that's like, well, I want to be fit, but I want some cake.
Yeah.
Or I want to be smart, but I don't want to study.
Yeah.
And you have to hold yourself accountable for that.
Yeah.
Like if you want to reach your goals.
Yeah, and I want to build on what you were saying. You know, like, man, when we pick a goal, right? You know, with us, it's running and fitness, right? You look at videos of like Jocko Willink and like freaking David Goggins and all these badass motherfuckers doing all this crazy shit, and it motivates you, right?
Yes.
And you use this motivation, and you go out there and you start doing it yourself, and then you realize, oh, this shit's fucking hard, you know? And that motivation, that badassery that you see these people doing, all of a sudden when you have to be that person doing it, it's kind of hard to keep that motivation going. And I think that's where accountability goes, because motivation, it really isn't anything. You lose motivation, you know? And being accountable and understanding, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, okay, it's because I'm not fucking happy, you know? Like I don't respect myself, you know? Like this and that. I broke promises to myself, which made me be where I'm at. And now, you know, I gotta be real with myself to say, oh man, like I need to change. And that is what's gonna go, because motivation comes and goes. You're not gonna be motivated. You know, this week, every day I ran. I wasn't motivated to run every single fucking day, you know?
Yeah.
But because I remember why I'm running, right? That's what made me get up and knock out what I had to knock out.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up the motivation, because like before I go run or before I go work out, there's that moment of like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do it. You don't want to, like a normal person doesn't want to just like accept pain like that. It's not until you're like, come on, motherfucker, let's go. Put your shoes on. Okay, your shoes are on. Walk towards the door. All right, you're at the door. Do whatever you do to record your run, to record your like progress, right? Go. And it's not until like you're like mid-go, you're like, all right, I'm in it. It's not motivation necessarily. Like when you're in it, it's more of like, I'm here, I'm gonna do it, and then your mindset changes, and you're like halfway through, you're like, now I have to complete.
Yeah.
Because what's worse, like, you know, quitting, not an option really. Like I told you, like I've been running with bad knees sometimes, and I'll run till like I fall over. Like I was running in the neighborhood, and my knees just gave out, and I fell over, and I was like, there's only one way I'm getting home now. Yeah. Like I can't run because my knees hurt, but I still have to get back. And that, you know,
I think I drove past you. I was like, who's that little bitch?
Whatever. Whatever, bro. No, like, there was a movie about surfing that I watched, and they were, you know, this young kid, he wanted to learn how to surf. He wanted to like, I forgot the name of the movie, but basically he wants to like be like a big wave surfer. And one of the things that he has to do is like he has to like paddle like a certain distance. Yeah. And they get to a midway point, and the guy's like, all right, cool, like let's turn around, like we're gonna end it for the day. And the kid's like, well, we're midway. It's like, so if we turn back, it's gonna be the same distance as if we finish. Let's just finish this distance. And that's how I've started to like look at my runs or my workouts. Yeah. I could get halfway through something and be like, I'm halfway there. I'm almost finished. Yeah. I'm gonna finish strong. Yeah. Even if that means I fall down in my front yard.
That's good, man. That's determination. What does accountability mean to you? Like, yeah, we read the definitions, but what does accountability mean to you?
It's like a personal responsibility. So when we talk about accountability, I don't really want to talk about anybody else's accountability. I'm not going to hold you accountable for what you do because that's we're in this together. We're having like this community conversation. We're doing everything we can to like get better together. But your run is your run. You're going to hold yourself accountable for what you do. And then you're going to show up and we're going to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold myself accountable for what I do. I don't do your distance, but I do the best that I can. And that's my responsibility to myself, is to push myself further than I did the last time.
Yeah.
And I know we had the conversation like off air, like about how people in accountability, they want to hold somebody else like responsible for something they said or something they did. And I don't want anybody who's like listening to think that we're talking about accountability for other people. It's strictly for ourselves. We're not virtue signaling. We're not trying to call anybody out. We're not trying to do anything other than like hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah. And, because last week when we talked about what this episode was going to be about, I started thinking about what accountability meant to me. And, to me, it's really just more about honesty.
Yeah.
Because I think that we build defenses, right? And because we don't want to walk around feeling like we're like pieces of shit all the time, So what we do is we build these defenses and we tell ourselves stories of who we think we are, right? And we give ourselves this like sense of grandiosity of thinking, oh, well, I'm good for this, I'm good for that, I'm good for this, right? But what we don't realize is that we're not really being honest with where we're at. Right. And you always hear your friends saying like, oh, man, I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm not a big fan of really talking about wants that I'm not like putting effort into every day.
Right.
And when one of the biggest smacks of accountability that I had, is when I was bigger and I was unhappy, like tying my shoe was not fun. I built a habit of tying my shoe so that it would never untie, just loose enough so I could slip them on and off.
I've been there, yeah.
Because bending over to tie my shoe was hard.
It take your breath away.
Yeah. And so I was just complaining about things like this, right?
Right.
And I'm married, so I was complaining to my wife, and she was such a good person that she would sit there and she would listen to me complain and be there for me, right? But after a while, when you complain about something so much, you don't realize the things that you put people through, Till one day she was all like, hey, like, you talk all this shit, you ain't doing nothing, It's like if you want to change it.
Right.
And like, she didn't say it like that, but that's how I heard it, right? I was like, God damn, like, okay. But I at the time I started I was listening to all these books and stuff, and I had to really be honest with myself. You're not where you are, and it's all because of you. Nobody else does the actions of making me take naps in the middle of the day that I don't really have to take. I'm not exercising, so I'm not tired, I'm just taking a fucking nap. Nobody's making me put the things that I do, the food that I do, in my mouth. Nobody's making me, hey, Careful. Let's just move it. Let's just move on.
Rolling on.
Yeah.
Got you.
Nobody's making me put that food in my mouth, right? I'm doing it. The quantities of it, that's me. Those are all my actions, right? I could sit there and say, oh, well, these damn restaurants make it to where, blah, 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 blah. But it's me. It's my actions,
These commercials, man, they got me.
Fucking the Illuminati. But yeah, I know that's a stretch. But I mean,
cheddar biscuits.
Yeah. Ooh. Delicious. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just what accounting means to me. It's just being honest with yourself, like brutally honest. Like just, you can paint, everybody has a perspective, right? I mean, and you can paint it whichever way you want it. But if you're just really honest with why you're not where you're at.
Yeah, that really does make like holding yourself accountable hard, because when you're not looking in the mirror, if you avoid it, you can convince yourself that you're where you want to be. So you can convince yourself that you deserve a treat. You deserve a reward. I worked out today. Maybe I'll go eat unhealthy today. And what does that do? It cancels itself out. Like the hard work that you put in versus what you put in your body, what you put in your mouth, it cancels. I'm never gonna let that go. By the way, it cancels out, right? Yeah. Like if you're gonna do hard work, like follow through on everything. Hold yourself accountable. That's your responsibility to yourself to reach your goal. But it gets harder and harder, especially if you think that you're, at a certain level that you're not yet. Like your ego inflates. You think that you're the best. You think that you're the greatest. You're like, it can't get much better than this. And if you think that, like, you're wrong. Yeah, man. I think ego really does get in the way of a lot of stuff, right? Because we, those defenses that we build up, we don't want to be honest with ourselves at times, I talked to you this week about the ego's the enemy from Ryan Holiday, and one of the things he says in that book, right, is that like sometimes when somebody is like says something to you, right, like, hey, like you're this, like even at the workplace, right, it's like, hey man, like you're disorganized, right, and then you get upset, like you being upset, like that person's not insulting you, right? They're just giving you their perspective. It's your own ego that brings the insult. So if you take it that way from other people, like no wonder you're not saying those things to yourself, right? And it's like this ego that says that, like, you shouldn't say that to me. Well, because I wouldn't say that to me. Yeah. Well, why the fuck not? Like, who are you? Yeah. And like actually this week, it's been like I had to kind of do an ego check, right? Because I was not expecting the video to do what it did, and it did. And not only that, but I've lost quite a bit of weight in the past year or so, right? And people that haven't seen me in a long time are telling me, "Hey, man, like you lost a lot of weight, you look good, and all this stuff," right? And that shit starts going to your head. And yes, while I've lost a lot of weight, I'm still not at where I want to be. Right. So it's like, you always have to think of the finish line, and you always have to check yourself that it's like, hey, you've made progress, but you're not there yet. And I think that's what it's so hard, like for people to, they just want, they want that instant gratification, right? Yeah. They want that shit quick. Yeah, we talked about that last week, the instant gratification. People see like models and fitness gurus or whatever it is on like social media, and they like want the immediate, they want it now. They don't want to work for it. Working for it and having that conversation of how am I going to get started to walk down that path actually gives people anxiety. And what's going to happen? You're either going to get in or you're going to get out. And if you feel like that, like chances are, like if you already feel like anxiety just from like the thought of like putting in work, you're out. And that's unfortunate because so many people like are good at like a lot of things, but if they don't follow through, they could be fit, they could be smart, they could be anything they want to be, but if they don't follow through like that path, take accountability for like their actions towards like achieving their goals, they don't take that responsibility upon themselves, they're not going to achieve their goals. If you want to be fit, quit looking at people on like Instagram. Just do it yourself. Yeah. Take your own photos. Yeah. Like, I don't take any shirtless photos because I'm not in the best shape right now, but I do have a starter photo, which I won't show anybody. It makes me cry. Yeah. But something I read from Ego's Enemy is going back to like how we're talking about like, how like the podcast did better numbers than we expected, especially since nobody really knows us. Like all the views we got. I told you too, is like we have to stay humble because humility is the key for this, right? Yeah. Like we're building a community. We're not acting like we're better than anybody. There's paths that we've gone down, and here we are starting from the beginning again. But for us to think that we're the best, like up front, like yeah, we did good. I feel we did good. I'm confident, and we did good. That we earned that confidence. But I don't feel like we're the best. And if you feel like that from the jump, like. That's the death of your creativity. Yeah. And that's directly in the book, too. Yeah, for sure. And I think that anybody that takes a look at the numbers would be like, you motherfuckers were happy about that. Like, people that have been more successful. And I just think that goes, yeah, hell yeah, I'm fucking happy about that, because it's like,
like the fact that anybody would give us even the amount of time that they did give
the
us.
attention.
Yeah. I mean, we appreciate that, you know, like we really do. But you know, I think it's real easy, you know, when you start to exceed expectations, or even when you start meeting expectations, you know, when you start even seeing some momentum on a goal, to let that ego creep back up, right? And to say, oh, yeah, man, I am the shit, you know? Yeah, you know, I did lose that fucking weight. Yeah, I did do this. I did do that. You know, that's when you have to go back and look at your goals and hold yourself accountable. Like, am I there yet? You know, and if you're not, you gotta keep going.
The part where you said like the "am I there yet" is something that we talked about too, because like this is not just we're gonna do this for a little bit, we're gonna work out for a little bit, we're gonna try to get smarter for a little bit. This is more like training for life. You know, anything and everything that we do has like the end game, like the long game. It's chess, not checkers. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, like with their immediate goals, they're like, oh, king me. You know? Yeah. Like, I'm going to get the 6-pack in 6 months, and then what am I going to do with it after that? Yeah. Winter body's right around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, not just in fitness, you know, but somebody's like, you know, I want to pass this real estate exam, and then you pass the exam, but then you're a shitty real estate agent, you know? It's like, because it's like you make, you know, goals are just meant to be there so that when you reach it, you start on your next goal, you know?
But to be truly happy with like reaching your next goal, like you really have to like relish in your achievements too, right? So you've reached your goal, bask in it. But then, you know, always have your like secondary goal like on the horizon. Like you'll get there, but like without like inflating your ego too much, without getting like too prideful or anything like that. Just be like, hey, like goal 1, I hit, I'm happy, let's celebrate. Now let's move on. Yeah. You want to have like that moment. That way for your peace of mind, you know, like when you're older, you're like, fuck, I really hit that shit hard. I succeeded. Yeah. And then I went on, I hit that shit even harder, and I succeeded in my second goal. Yeah. Like that's how I feel like training for life or preparing for life is.
Yeah, because the more you accomplish, the more you can kind of use, you know, like we were talking about, motivation comes and goes, right? Like as you start hitting these goals and you go on to your next one, you know, when times get rough, right? When things are hard, you can always look back and say, hey, like I did this, you know, like I've already accomplished something. I'm already done. You know, I didn't think I was going to lose 10 pounds. Look, I accomplished that, you know? Yeah. And yeah, I may be trying to lose the last 10 pounds, but I know that I've gotten there, you know? Being able to add your own motivation, your own momentum, you know, because things aren't always going to be easy in whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. You know, it could be your master's. Like I was just talking to one of my cousins, you know, and, you know, she went to school for teaching and you know, she's still trying to get further education, and she's still doing more, you know, and you know, she was bummed out. But, you know, this isn't just when it comes to exercise or physicalness or any of that. I mean, any goal that you have, like she's over here trying to get, you know, her master's and all that stuff. And she there's times where she's down. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to remind them, hey, you know what? Like, look at what you've accomplished so far. You know, it's like, you know, you're a teacher now. Yeah. You know, when you went to school for this stuff, you know, like it's just reminding yourself that, hey, I've accomplished goals and I've done these things.
There was like something else in the book that I really like too. It was never stop learning, right? Like it goes hand in hand with like us like training for life. Never stop learning, never stop being a student. Like if your ego is going to get in the way of you getting better, then you need to check yourself. Because it really, when you get a job and you get a promotion and you feel great because you're riding that high, that you have taken that next step towards like a higher like level of like your work, that's great. But sometimes you let that ego get in the way and you're like, I'm not going to read the SOP. I'm not going to read up on like these new regulations or policy, whatever we have. I'm not going to learn more about what's going on with like Texas real estate, things like that, because your brain is telling you, you know everything, but it's poisoning you against like your own like it's poisoning you against you. Mm-hmm. It's getting in the way. It's filling your head with like pride. Yeah. And then with that, what are you gonna do? You're gonna not go anywhere. Yeah. You gotta humble yourself.
And it's funny you said that. There was a study done, and I just thought about this, so I didn't look it up. But there's a study that was actually done. What is it? Something effect. It's the something effect where it's like those who thought that they were really good at something ended up performing not as good as those who felt like they weren't that good at it. Mm-hmm. I think it's like the Dunham something effect, and it's like
you can look it up, right?
When it
you don't have to do it right now, but you can like put a link later.
Yeah. Cool. So like and it's basically just states that like when you're really like assured of yourself that you're like a fucking badass in something, mm-hmm. that's probably the first sign that you're not as good as you think.
Yeah.
You know, and those that are always thinking, man, I'm not good enough, you know, they put in the extra effort that you know, that lack of self-confidence sometimes helps you because you look into it a little bit more. And that goes with accountability, right? Like if you're always thinking, man, I'm not holding myself accountable. Mm-hmm. You know, I made a promise to myself and I'm going to do it. And if you're constantly thinking, man, like, I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, you're going to go harder. You're going to be honest with yourself. You know, you're not going to give yourself even an inch. Like you said, be happy when you accomplish the goal, but until then, you go hard. Exactly.
Like I feel like this podcast is like a grind towards like a better. I feel smarter having done the podcast and talking with you. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Cool. Okay. Sorry. We have a new person helping us out. His name is Jonathan. He's really awesome, but I'm not gonna talk about him till the end.
Sexy as hell too.
Nah, he's not really. You know, whatever. He's kind of cute. He's got a really pretty smile. Whatever. No, what I also, you know, took away from that book was when you're a champ, like when you are the best, that's the perfect time for you to keep like humility and in your arsenal. Mm-hmm. You have to stay humble because when you're at the top, you have people gunning for you and they want you to fall. Mm-hmm. So when you are a champion, when you are the best, when you're the best in your field, whatever you want to be, stay humble, and you should guide like the people around you, like how we're trying to create a community. Mm-hmm. There's I don't think it's a theory, but it's a quote. Have you heard of the plus minus equal conversation? Mm-hmm. So when you have someone in your life who's a plus, they're like someone that you learn from. They're like a teacher, and like you can consume knowledge from them, and then you can take that knowledge that you've consumed from them and pass that along and be a teacher yourself to someone who's a lesser, like someone who like you've taken under your wing. You're going to guide them. You're going to teach them, and then the person who's your equal is someone who's going to challenge you. And I feel that doing the podcast with you and us being friends with so long, you've been my plus and my equal. Mm-hmm. And I've taken like things that I've learned from you, challenges that we've like put on each other, and I've taken some people under my wing, and I've tried to be a good teacher to them, even though I'm nobody. Yeah. But every kernel of knowledge that I can consume from you, I can consume from Jonathan, because Jonathan's really smart too. Anybody that we know. Yeah. I take that, I absorb it, and I like to try to pass it along. Yeah. And that's something that I've always like really respected about like our friendship. Yeah. I never heard it like the way you was it plus minus equal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never heard it that way, but I am familiar with the concept. I actually tell Brooklyn all the time, my daughter, I'm like, you know, she wants to be an artist, and you know, I tell her you always need to have a mentor, somebody who knows more. And then like, how do you know you really know something? Because you can teach it. Mm-hmm. You know, so have somebody like, you know, her little sister or maybe one of her little brothers that she's like trying to show, because that's the only way you really know if you fully understand something is if you can teach it. And then if you have somebody who's equal, I mean, you could throw the ball back and forth and help each other grow. Yeah. I mean, I am familiar with it. I just not in that way. Yeah. Well, that's the way it was like brought to my attention, was the plus minus equal. And I feel like doing the podcast, us like being able to have like the conversation, we've become like more equals. And like this, you know, we're starting out together, we can actually talk. And there's sometimes where I feel like you're in my brain, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's because we're into a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
So, anything that I've read, more than likely you've read and back and forth. So, yeah, man, I think that we, that's what we're doing this. But, us being equals, like, one of the things that, in our relationship, because you're starting to run, sometimes you say things like that I'm so far advanced when it comes to like running and stuff like that, which, I guess, in comparison, right? But one thing that I always think about whenever you give me compliments like that, or anybody else gives me compliments like that, is that, man, maybe I run a little bit more than just what like your average person does. But like, if I start taking too much of that shit in, like, I'm gonna get full of myself and be like, oh yeah. So I always try to then remember, okay, like this week I ran 14 miles. That's the longest I've ran ever.
Yeah.
Right. And I tell people that, and your average person's like, what? Why? Why? That's what they tell me.
Like, you have a car, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, man, like, I always have to remember, but this is nothing in comparison to like what I'm going to run. And that's part of that accountability. It's like, you when you start doing things that you're like, whatever your goal is, hey, I want to be, a better cook. You start looking into something, you're gonna get better, and then you start sharing the things that you do. You start cooking a little bit better. It starts, tasting better. You show it to other people. They're gonna be like, "Hey, man, you're a really good cook." Yeah. But you always got to remember that it's like be accountable to yourself. Hey, cool, I'm good, but I'm not where I want to be. Right. And that's where you really have to be able to keep that in mind, even within this whole have a mentor. And I think that's where the mentor part comes in handy, because it's like, you need that person to constantly remind you, even if it's a really good cook on YouTube. Yeah. Even was it Gordon Ramsay or whatever the fuck his name is, right?
Oh, he's a hair guy.
Yeah. So even that guy, if that's your fucking idol and that's your mentor, like, always remember, hey, I'm not that person yet.
Yeah, like it's good to have a mentor, because no matter how great you think you are, that mentor is going to check you. It's like, oh, okay, cool, you think that you're this? Did you realize that you didn't know XYZ? And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take that little bit of knowledge, and I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And then what are you going to do? You're going to take it to like the person who's under your wing, who you're teaching, who's helping you out, or you're helping them out, I'm sorry. And then to get even better, you're going to talk to your equal. You're going to challenge each other. Be like, hey, did you know this? Yeah. Did you know this? Yeah. There you are. You're on the same playing field now.
Yeah, and I actually want to go back. You shouldn't have corrected yourself. Like, anybody who's equal or under, like, they're still helping you out, right? Like yeah. Us talking, right? Like, we're not teaching anybody anything. Like, this is helping us out. Like, this is a little selfish, because it's like, this is the shit that I'm fucking into, but like, I can't talk about this shit all the time when I'm at work, right? People don't want to be fucking hearing about like, let's fucking do it, guys. Let's go run. Like, nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares about that rah shit.
Yeah. It was like, bro, I'm trying to sell these fucking lines, bro. Like, I'm trying to like, move this stuff over. Like, I'm not trying to hear that right now. So like, like us wanting to give this information to other people is doing equal amount of benefit to us as any benefit that may come to anybody else.
With what I do, it's actually more therapeutic for me to have like this conversation with you, because during the work week, I mean, I'm dealing with people. I don't want to tell the world what I do, but I'm very good at getting yelled at. I'm very good at getting cussed out for whatever reason. It's not my fault, but on that phone line, I have to own that. I have to be responsible. I have to be the one that says, even if it's not what I do, cool, give me every bit of this bullshit that you're throwing at me, because I guarantee, like, when I talk to the next person or you talk to the next person, you've already got all this anger out, right? You've already got it out once. You're not going to talk that way to like everybody else. Yeah. And even though I might not like that, like sometimes that fuels that fire of like, I'm going to run till I fall down just so when I come back from my lunch break, I'm not an asshole to the next person that I talk to.
Yeah.
Like,
for people that don't know Scott, he's so good at getting yelled at. I call him up and I'm just like, fuck you, and hang up.
I used to think that it was a prank call.
No, it's me. Like, sometimes I'll call him from different numbers, so he doesn't expect it. You know, that's how I keep him on his toes. That's what a good friend does. They fucking call you and they train you, and that's just what I do. Is I'll call him unknown and I'll be like, "Hello, is this Scott? Yeah, fuck you."
What does it say that when I call you late night and you're out of breath? What are you thinking about?
Nothing.
You thinking about me when you call me?
Yeah. No, man, but yeah. I mean,
well, we've been friends for so long that even though we're joking about like the prank calls and stuff, we've been friends for so long that your wife saw our text thread. Remember? Because we make fun of each other so hard. That was the first time she lost a little respect for me. We make fun of each other so hard that I remember you told me your wife was like, "And this is your best friend? This is how you talk to your best friend? This is how y'all talk to each other?" Because you're the only friend that I have that I could like text you and be like, "Hey, fuck you," and you're like, "Haha, fuck you too," instead of being like, "What does that mean?" Like, that's random out of nowhere. Why would you text me at 1:30 on a Monday afternoon when I'm going through some stuff and just say "fuck you"?
I've never roasted or been roasted by anybody as much as you. But hey, like that's funny because that wasn't planned, but it's a good segue to not just accountability with yourself, but you know, we live in a time, right, where I feel like people, like, I get it. I'm not judging anybody, right? Like, you don't want a friend to hurt. Right? You don't want a friend, like, when somebody calls you and they're like, "Hey man, like, you know, I'm not feeling good because of this, because of that." You know, I understand wanting to be that friend that's going to be like, "Hey, it's okay. You know, you're going to be all right," you know? But are you really helping that friend?
No.
Right? Like I told my wife, right? When I finally looked in the mirror, I looked at me and I was like, "Babe, why in the fuck you tell me how fat I was?" You know, I was pushing off. I wasn't being accountable, and I was pushing off responsibility, right? But there was a little truth in the sense is like, why'd you let me do that shit to myself? You know, because a good friend tells somebody, "Hey, man, like, you're getting big."
It's not cute.
It's not cute. And you know, again, like, I have nothing to complain. My wife's been great, you know, she's supportive and all that. But sometimes us as friends, we do need to tell the person, "Hey man, it's because of you. You did this to yourself." You know? I come over and you're always fucking eating crazy. You're not studying. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. Whatever it is that you're complaining about, it's more than likely because of you. You know?
That's a hard truth. It's like a hard truth pill to swallow. And I didn't mean to cut you off. No. But yeah, like I had a similar. In the last podcast, I talked about how I drove into work and I had that booby sweat. Right? I was like, "Man, what the is this? I've never had this before." Like
booby juice.
I was like, "Man, am I lactating?" Anyways, when I looked in the mirror, like straight on, I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like I put on a couple of pounds, no big deal. But that side profile told a completely different story, and then that hurt my feelings. And I think I did text somebody. I don't remember, but I was like, "Why'd you let me do this? Like, you did this. This is your fault." I didn't want to take responsibility for it. I think it was my dad. Yeah. Because you know how we talked, like I went through a bad breakup. You get fit, you get fat. I got fat, right? Yeah. And when that breakup happened, my dad moved back and he moved down the street from me, and he would be like 11 in the morning. "Hey, do you want brunch?" I'm like, I'm sleeping till like 1 today. Like, let's do lunch. Cool. Come over, pick me up. We go get lunch. 3 o'clock. "Hey, are you hungry? You want something to eat? Like, I'm thinking about going to get like some brownies from, 7-Eleven. Yeah, I'll take 2 and a large Pepsi." "Cool. I got you, son. I love you. Thanks, Dad." 6 o'clock rolls around. "Hey, I'm kind of hungry. You want to go get dinner?" "Yes." Yes, I do. I'm starving. Even though we just ate 2 hours ago, and then 2 hours before that, I'm hungry again. Let's do this. 1 a.m. roll around. Get a text from my dad. Hey, are you awake? Yeah, I slept till like 1 this afternoon. Of course I'm awake. Are you hungry? You want to hang out? Maybe. I'm going to go get some Whataburger. Do you want some? Yes. Yes, I do. This is what I want, Dad. I want a large sweet tea. I want 3 sausage biscuit sandwich or biscuits plain. And I need, if I'm getting 3 sausage biscuits, I need 3 things of hash browns. Stat. I don't care how long the line is. You better hurry the fuck up because I'm hungry now. I wasn't hungry till you said this. Now I want to eat. Slippery slope.
Yeah.
So when I looked at myself in the mirror, I don't want to take responsibility for that. I was like, I didn't pay for the food. That's not my fault. But, you have to.
Yeah. My thing was my wife, she's, smaller than me. And I used to always think, well, I got to eat more than her. I'm bigger, And yeah, and then if she would leave anything behind, I'm like, you can't throw this shit away, like there's kids starving in Africa, and like I fucking ate that shit up, man. Like, not just the kids in Africa thing, the shit that she left behind, I would eat all of it. And
what's your like go to like? Because I get cravings. Like I have a terrible sweet tooth. Like if I see candy, I'm like, nobody's gonna miss this little piece of candy. Same thing with like cookies or brownies, like cake.
Yeah.
Fucking cake is
pastries.
Like, oh,
that's my weakness. It's a fucking pastry, bro. God damn.
What's your favorite? Let's go ahead and say it.
They're like my children, bro. I can't pick just one.
Zebra cakes.
Bro.
Nutty bars.
Nah, bro. I go all out, bro. I'll go to numb bun cake, bro. I can't just pick one flavor. I can't just pick one flavor, bro. And then I worked out this deal with my wife. I'm like, what do you want? And then I know that it's like she'll probably only eat half, or I can then offer her half of mine, so I'll get that flavor too. Bro, it's this game that you play with yourself,
Yeah.
And yeah, pastries, bro, pastries. I don't want to be doing a commercial for pastries, bro. We're trying to help motherfuckers here, bro. We're over here fucking tempting.
You want to get fit? Don't go to these pastry shops.
Yeah, don't
lay them out.
Yeah.
No zebra cakes, even though I love zebra cakes.
Oh, man.
No Star Crunch,
Yeah.
even though I love Star Crunch.
So, and that's the thing is that like you never really fully change. Like these are things that you're gonna deal with. Like, bro, I'm still that.
Yeah.
I'm still that. I just have tried to make better decisions every day than not.
Yeah.
And it's like you gotta understand that like you're not gonna change. You're just gonna have to deal with this shit for a long time. Forever.
Yeah. Like David Goggins said, right? He's like that 300-pound dude is still in there. He's calling to me. He's wanting me to like slip. He's wanting me to eat like the cakes. He's wanting me to eat the bacon and the eggs and the this and the that. He don't want me to have my fucking shake. But guess what? I got my shake. I'm on the treadmill. I'm never going to be that 300-pound dude again, even though he's creeping in the darkness. I was never 300 pounds. And last week I said I was like 260. I need to correct myself because I lied. I feel guilty about that. There was a number that was in my head. And like the real number is like I was 230 and I got back down to 160. But in like the excitement of having this conversation.
Yeah, I was listening to it. I was like, I don't remember him ever being that big.
It's all in my legs. I carry it really well. I carry it like a Karen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. But I wasn't gonna. I was just like, okay.
You just let me lie.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after that I was like, I knew what I was trying to say, but I lied. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But
it sounded good. I believed you, kind of.
I mean, you knew me when I was like built like my wrist.
Yeah. And but hey, you know what? We're honest here at the Amp Theory.
Totally.
We correct our mistakes. Appreciate that.
So anyways, that 260-pound kid that I never was is still creeping in the darkness.
There you never was.
I was a 230. Yeah. I swear, 230 is the real number, and I got back down to like 160.
Yeah, that's still good. That's really good.
Yeah. It was cardio, then weights, and then more cardio, and then me telling my roommate that I didn't want to watch TV with him. I go home, go to sleep at 2 a.m.
Yeah. You
remember?
It takes a lot of dedication, and to get back on topic and everything. I mean, we want to go back and we want to really differentiate between self accountability, right, and then when you're trying to hold other people accountable. To me, it's tough, right? Because again, I believe that if you want to change the world, you got to start with yourself.
Exactly.
Right. You got to be like, no matter how hard you try, you can't control other people's actions. Now, you can shame them into an apology, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they believe what they're saying. And people lie all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So like if all I can do is just control myself and my attitude, then the only person I can really hold accountable is myself.
You can't change the world until you clean your own room. Yeah,
and that's actually something that we were talking about this week. Jordan Peterson has this this whole room thing, and what I got out of that was that before you go off and try to change the world, make sure you have your things in order.
Exactly.
And so when you're trying to hold other people accountable, you're gonna have to ask yourself, like, wait, am I even accountable to myself? Because how can you expect other people to do something that you yourself can't even do for yourself? Now, if you're fucking perfect and you're you're doing all that shit, like, I guess cool, I don't follow you every fucking day, and I can't follow you because I'm too busy holding myself accountable.
Yeah. You're working on yourself. You're holding yourself accountable to your own goals. With the accountability mirror, kind of like we've talked about already, it's the perfect way, even though it kind of falls in line with like clean your room. Like, what is in my immediate space? What can I change? I'm not trying to look through the forest, through the trees. I'm trying to better myself. So what can I do? What can I do to make myself better before trying to like do anything with anybody else, try to pass on any kind of knowledge or anything like that? I look at my accountability mirror. I see my goals. I'm trying to be one step closer towards my goal today than I was yesterday. And if I'm not, then I have to reassess. So I'll look at it. I'll see my goals. Like, okay, this is how much I weighed on day 1 when I first put my little sticky note up. Okay, today's day 30. Where am I? And if I'm not better, then I have to start over. Like Goggins said, it's okay to fail, but it's not okay. For me, it's not okay to give up. So I've failed at a lot of things. And I still have tried to persevere. I've tried to like push past my shortcomings. It's like with work, I look at the shit that I need to do. I need to make sure that like in my mind, I'm the best that I can be. When it comes to my fitness, I look at my goals. I look in the mirror, and if I'm not there yet, I'm honest with myself. I'm like, hey, this isn't good enough. You need to hold yourself responsible for the way that you look and the way that you feel, because you made a promise to yourself. And that promise to yourself is that you will be better than yesterday, and you will get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how fast it's going to be, but I'm training for life.
Yeah. Well, nothing's truly ever over until you give up, right? Tune in to episode 4 on persistence, on never giving up.
I'm not gonna lie, I was like, next episode is episode 3. What are we doing?
No, episode 4, bro. That's all on persistence. But yeah, I mean, like 100%, man. Like, I just lost my train of thought.
The whole episode 3 thing fucked you up.
It fucked me up, bro. You see, I tried to be cute, bro, and I fucked that shit up, man. What were you saying?
I don't know. I said a lot of stuff.
Look,
I forgot now, but it was good.
Yeah, it was really good, bro. It's so inspiring. It fucked my whole world up.
You're going to prank call me tonight, but hey, fuck you for
fuck
what
you.
happened
I remember.
tonight.
No, man. I mean, look, like, so one thing that both me and you did, right? As a tool.
Context.
One thing that one exercise that me and you did to hold ourselves accountable.
Okay.
Right. That we both got from the Goggins book, right, was the accountability mirror, right?
Yeah.
And like no fucking joke. Like we fucking did this. Like I when I did the first go around of his book, and he talked about the accountability mirror, and I think that's one of his like little challenges, right? That
it's
gives.
the first challenge.
Yeah,
or first or second challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well, what the hell, you know? Like this guy's a fucking badass, and has done something that I think I want to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was like 240 something, whatever. Is
it a real weight?
Yeah, that's real weight. Yeah, bro.
Just check it.
Fucking certified. All right.
Don't lie to people
Fucking
now.
check my receipts, bro. No, but you know, I sat there, and you know what I noticed? Like this is when I look back when we were in high school, and then even after high school, right? When we were in good shape. I remember that, like, I would look at myself in the mirror, and like I was good with myself, right? Like I would talk to myself, and I'd be like, yeah, like I would still tell hey, you gotta do this shit. But like I noticed that as I started like gaining weight, I stopped looking at myself in the mirror. So, and I didn't notice that until I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk to myself, and I'm gonna hold myself accountable, right?
Yeah. And
so I remember, you know, I told my wife, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Right? And I was like and I go into the bathroom, and I was like, all right, you know, I gotta be serious. And I fucking look at myself in the eye, and I didn't recognize myself, because I like, yeah, you know, you shave, you brush your teeth, right? The minimal amount of time, just, is my shit good? And then, you know, you leave. But for the first time, like, it was like I was seeing an old buddy and saying, what the fuck happened? You know, like, bro, who are you? Like, bro, like, why'd you do this to us? Right? Why'd you do this to us, bro? Like, I wanted to beat my own ass, bro. And like, I was looking at myself, and I was like, man, like, you're here because of you, you know, like, and I really had to kill my ego, man. And I went hard on myself. I was like, you're a fucking loser. You know, you're overweight. You can't run a mile if you had to. How are you going to protect your family? Right? Like if somebody fucking grabbed your kid and ran off, like, how long can you really like run after them? You know? And I was looking at myself, and I went in, and I'm like, you know, I was looking at myself like, that's your fault, this is your fault, that's your fault, you know, and just really, really gone in on myself. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? You know, like, what is it that you want to do? And I you know, that was really impactful to me, you know, because
I get it. Yeah, totally. Because like I told you, day one, looking in the accountability mirror, right? I got my sticky notes next to me. I got my Sharpie. I'm ready to just fucking make these goals. But you look at yourself, and you're like, just like you said, that's your fault. That roll right there, those are the food you eat. Your belly is hanging over your waistline a little bit. That's your fault. That's the soda that you're drinking. Your arms aren't as defined as they used to be. That's your fault, because you quit putting in work. And I had to have like that conversation with myself. I brought tears to my own eyes looking at myself. It's like the ghost of the person that I used to be wasn't there. What was there was like this person that I didn't recognize, because I didn't look at myself in the mirror for a long time. I didn't want to see that I was fat. I didn't want to see that my shirts were tighter around my waistline. I didn't want to see that I had new wrinkles. I didn't want to see my hair falling out. These are things that you don't want to acknowledge. And like I said, man, I looked at myself in the mirror. I said all these things to myself. I was like, you're not the person that you were. This is your fault because of X, Y, Z. Now that you're being a pussy and you're crying about it, what are you going to do to make yourself better?
Yeah.
And like, that's when I was like, sticky note 1, I weigh X amount. By the end of this month, I want to lose X amount.
Yeah.
Boom. Put that up.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I weighed myself. And I was doing really good losing weight, right? And then I weighed myself, and I was like, fuck, I relapsed. So sticky note 2, boom, right under my first weight. What the fuck was like the sticky note.
Yeah.
And then I had to look at myself, had to take that sticky note down. I kept what the fuck on there, but I was like, you need to try harder. Took up my whole sticky note. Boom, put it up there. Took another one out. Yeah. And by try harder or lose fucking weight, fat ass. Boom, put that up there.
Yeah.
My mirror is literally lined with like a weird L shape of like sticky notes.
Yeah.
Because I have all my weight loss goals going across the top of my mirror. Yeah. But I have my fuck ups, going down my mirror.
Yeah.
And I don't want more fuck ups going down my mirror, because I need to look at myself when I brush my teeth in the morning.
Yeah. And those for those people that aren't, like, their goals aren't the same as ours, journaling is another way that you can do it. Write down what it is, like what the end goal is, and why you're not at where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Sit there and journal and be honest with yourself. You know? Like, I think my biggest pain is that, again, like, you control the controllables. There's going to be some things that you can't control, right? And I think that what hurts is when you're actually accountable with yourself and you actually sit there and you have to tell yourself, you didn't do this. What hurts the most is that you had the power to not be there.
It almost sounds like you do something wrong when you're a kid and your dad's like, I'm not mad at you, bud. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
That's the conversation that, like, yeah, I'm saying, like, I'm getting angry with myself because I am trying to control what I can control. Mm-hmm. When it comes to work, yes, I can control the output and my, what I do at work, right? Mm-hmm. But when I'm talking to people at work, everything is fine. I get yelled at, yes, but I do my job and I do it to the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to that accountability mirror, what did I want to change the most? I wanted to change me physically. Yeah. Yeah. So when I'd see myself and I was like, you did not do what you said you were going to do. Yes, I would get angry. I'd get upset, but I would be like, I'm not going to let that like set me back even further. I'm going to take responsibility for my actions. So maybe I don't eat cookies or the Tiff's treats that get delivered, right? Mm. Fuck those cookies. I'm eating my Brussels sprouts. Fuck that cake. I'm going to eat my broccolis. Yeah. Things like that. Like anything and everything that I can do to make myself better to reach my goal, I'm going to hold myself accountable for.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of things that you can do. Like I said, since our goals are very, like, visually, like, you could tell, like, visually if you're reaching your goal or not, like, accountability mirror and stuff like that.
A word from our sponsor, Jonathan. What's up?
Video cut out.
When?
Even though I had half the storage on my thing, at 56 minutes it just cut out, because it's in 4K. Yeah. So it's like. How
long have we been going?
56 minutes.
I guess we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess we'll start wrapping up. This last part of it, we could just put like our logo on there or whatever. Again, this is the beginning podcast, right? And just as much as we're learning how to try to talk fluidly and keep the ideas going, everything on the back end is also pretty new. But guys, don't be afraid to hold yourself accountable. Just be honest with yourself. This is gonna be a big step for you to reach your goals.
Exactly.
Like, don't try to skip this step, because you have more power than you think. You have all the power. You control, like, what you do. Yeah, there may be things that may happen on somebody, like, we live with other people, so other people's actions will affect us. But as to the extent of how far that's going to affect us, that's up to us. That's up to us to say, hey, yeah, you know what? This is a shitty situation. This shouldn't have happened. Like, it is what it is.
Right.
But I am accountable for myself and my actions, and I have responsibility to myself to only let this affect me as far as I allow it to. Like, you guys can do it. Don't skip this step, because this is going to be the motivation you need when those fucking badass David Goggins videos don't work, when those fucking, inspirational fucking things from Arnold Schwarzenegger or fucking The Rock or all that shit that you listen to that fucking pumps you up for the moment, that's only going to get you so far. That accountability, you having those conversations with yourself, right? That's what's going to carry you to the next level. To be able to say, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. Like, I have to do this because I said I was going to do it. some of the byproduct of us not doing what we want, like what we tell ourselves we're going to do, is that we stop believing ourselves. We stop respecting ourselves. And it begins to snowball into worse things. And then next thing you know, you have bad emotions. You start feeling sad and depressed and all this stuff because you let yourself down. Hold yourself accountable. Accept responsibility for what you've done to not just yourself, but your life, everything. Like, hold yourself accountable. Be honest with yourself and use that to carry yourself one step forward every single day.
Exactly. And I would really recommend to anybody who's listening, go ahead. Like, we didn't invent this, but like, we've adopted it. Go ahead, create your own accountability mirror. Put your goals up there. Put the things that you want to be better at up there. It don't have to just be like a physical thing. It doesn't have to be fitness. It can be like, I want to read 500 pages of a book this month. Fucking do it. You can do it. The only person that's stopping you is you. And if you set yourself a goal, you have that responsibility to yourself to hold yourself accountable and only yourself. You brought up Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of like my favorite quotes from him was, when you're out there partying or having fun, there's somebody studying, there's somebody getting better. You can't climb the ladder of success with like your hands tied behind your back. So whatever you want to do, go out there and do it.
Amen, man. I think that's a
wrap.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to.
Oh, before we do end, I do want to thank our new team member Jonathan for everything that he's done. He's been recording us. He's been helping us with the audio. He is a longtime friend.
Yeah, back in high school.
We've known him since like high school as well, and it's been awesome to have like conversations with him and like bring him on board, because of our first podcast, I showed him the raw footage and he was like, man, like you really do have something special. Like I want to be a part of that. And so I love you, man. If you want to say anything, just go ahead and say anything, like say hi.
Oh, just hi, and I love you guys too, and I'm excited to be part of this journey.
Yeah. Whenever I was told that, Jonathan wanted to be a part of this and all that stuff, like, I mean, I wouldn't have asked for anybody else.
Exactly.
I can't think of anybody else better than to do this with us. Like you said, he's been a longtime friend, and I really do appreciate his friendship.
Absolutely.
Even though I do a shitty job of keeping in touch with everybody, but,
except for me lately.
Yeah, except for you lately, but yeah, he's the newest.
He's tweaking his nipples. You can't see it, but he's over there.
But we can, and we like it.
You just keep talking about me.
Peter's actually going to call you tonight in the middle of the night. He's like, that shit you did got me hard. Fuck you.
I'll make sure I'm on vibrate.
Yeah. Oh, nasty.
And just one more thing before we go, because we are building a community. Our buddy James Grambo does have a podcast called the Immaculate Vibes Podcast. He mainly talks about Dallas sports, but he's actually given us a listen. He's given us some constructive criticism on what we can do better. And, if we can get someone to listen to him, that's awesome. We want to build that community of friendship.
Yeah. And I also do want to shout out my cousin. His name is Brandon Vazquez. You can find him as Frog Jumps Big on Instagram. He's a rapper. He's silly. He posts the funniest shit. And he actually raps really well. And to follow with the tradition that I wanted to do of other motivating people, right? There's this freaking savage person. His name is Chris Nikic. I think his last name is Czech, and I think the C is the ch sound.
Oh, like Luca?
Yeah. So Chris Nikic, he is actually the first person with Down syndrome to finish a Ironman.
Oh, shit.
And so that dude's a fucking savage. And, last week we talked about Crystal, right? Who lost an arm, right? And I think that's an inspiring story for, like, overcoming those things that, like, you just didn't account for happening. What inspires me about Chris is that, he was born a certain way and maybe was written off as like, oh, well, he's this way and can only do so many things. And he said, fuck you to all that. And, he wanted to run an Ironman. And there's actually videos of him on like ESPN, I think, posted on him about his journey and how in closing. And like, man, it was so inspirational because like this dude did an Ironman, right? And like you know, he's sitting there talking about how much it hurts and all this stuff, but he finished.
Yeah.
Like, he finished and he did his goal, and he didn't have any fucking excuse. You know, like, most people that are born without these challenges don't even have the guts of finishing an Ironman, and this fucking guy did, man. And like,
that's awesome.
You know, go check him out. Chris Nikic is his name on Instagram, and that dude's really inspirational, man.
The link in the bio or the description.
Cool,
Much
awesome.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, this is the end of episode 2. To anybody and everybody who listens and subscribes and likes and all that, that's fantastic. Like I said to people with the last episode, any constructive criticism that you want to provide, like that would help us make a better show, is always welcome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can also follow us on social media. We're just at the Amp Theory on everything.
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that. We're here, and anything that you want to say to us, like, we're more than happy to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, guys. Like, again, for listening and stuff. I really do appreciate it. You know, we put in time for this,
and we will be back next week with episode 3.
Episode 3 on mindset.
Mindset.